Alright class, so today we're going to be taking notes over page 55 in your math journal over measurement conversions. So when we're talking about measurement conversions, we're talking about going from one type of measurement to the other. So saying going from inches to miles or from ounces to gallons. So we're going to be converting between two different measurements. So for our first example, we have something just a little bit silly. So let's read along. You have just discovered a new currency. You found 20 Fridas. So make sure we circle our numbers, underline our words. 20 Fridas. Each Frida is equivalent to 7 Newfits. Each Newfit is equivalent to 3 Haligs. Now remember we talked about in class that each means 1. So 1 Newfit is equivalent to 3 Haligs. Each Halig is worth $5. So how many dollars is 20 Fridas equivalent to? Okay, so we have a lot of steps that we're going through. So we're going from Fridas, we got to go all the way down to Newfits, then we have to go to Haligs, and then to dollars. So we're going to be converting between these different measurements. So we look at what we start with. So we start with 20 Fridas. So when we go to write our proportions, we're going to start off with 20 Fridas over 1, because we know that anything over 1 is just itself. And in order to go from one measurement to the other, we're going to be multiplying. So we're going to be multiplying. So we multiply by whatever our next conversion is. So we know that each Frida is equivalent to 7 Newfits. So now when we go to our next measurement, we always have to make sure that whatever is our numerator of one of our ratios has to be the denominator of our second. So we know that 1 Frida is worth 7 Newfits. So if you look now, one of our ratios has Frida as the numerator, the other one has it as the denominator. Okay, because when we go to multiply, they're going to cancel each other out. So it's going to get rid of them. So now we got to go to our next measurement. So each Newfit is equivalent to 3 Haligs. So since I had Newfits as our numerator, it's got to be our denominator in our next ratio. So 1 Newfit is worth 3 Haligs. Okay? And our last one, each Halig is worth $5. So since Halig was my numerator here, my Halig has to be my denominator in my next ratio. So 1 Halig equals $5. Okay, so all we did was we organized the information that were given. So we start out with Fridas. We were given that 1 Frida is worth 7 Newfits. Then we were given that 1 Newfit is worth 3 Haligs. And then that 1 Halig is worth $5. Okay, so now we're going to go through and we're going to eliminate any of the units that are diagonal from each other, because when we multiply by them, they're going to cancel each other out. So since I have Fridas as my numerator and a denominator, I can cross them out. Since I have Newfits as my numerator and my denominator here, I can cross both of them out because they cancel each other out. So then I have Haligs and Haligs. Cross those out. And I'm left with just dollars because I don't have any other dollar ratio as my denominator. So if you look, that's what our question is asking us for. How many dollars? So we should be left with just dollars. So now I have 20 over 1 times 7 over 1 times 3 over 1 times 5 over 1. And I'm just going to multiply straight across. Okay? So 20 times 7 is 140. Then I'm going to do 140 times 3. 0, 12. So 420, and then 420 times 5. So I'm left with $2,100. So I converted from my Fridas all the way down to my dollars and found out that 20 Fridas would be equivalent to $2,100. Okay? So know that was a long process, but once we start getting in the hang of it, we'll start understanding how to organize all of our information. Okay? So next, we have another example. So this is on a farm, there are 7 cows. Each cow has 4 legs. On each leg is 6 spots. How many spots are there? So we're going from cows, we're converting it to legs, and then we're converting it to spots. So the first ratio we're given is that there are 7 cows on the farm. So I'm going to start with 7 cows over 1. Okay? Then we're converting that to legs. So since cows is my numerator here, I know that my cows is going to need to be my denominator here. So 1 cow has 4 legs. Okay? And then on each leg is 6 spots. So on one leg, we have 6 spots. Okay? So we converted from cows to legs to spots. So again, just like we did for our first example, we're going to eliminate any units that are across from each other. So cows and cows, legs and legs, and we're left with spots. And if we look, that's what our question is asking us for. So how many spots are there? And we should be left with just spots. So then we, again, just multiply straight across. So 7 times 4 is 28, and then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do 28 times 6. So that's 168 spots. So based on my conversions, I went and found that 7 cows would have 168 spots. Okay? So our next example is talking about length. So we're going from a football field from end zone to end zone is 120 yards. If Mr. Nelson runs the entire length of the field, how many inches did he run? Okay, so this one kind of skips around a little bit. It's going straight from yards to inches. So it's assuming that you already know how many feet are in a yard and how many inches are in a foot. So let's start with the measure that we're given. So 120 yards. I'm going to start with 120 yards over 1. And I can't just go from yards all the way down to inches. I got to go with the middle unit that's right here, which is going to be feet. So I know that 1 yard is equal to 3 feet. And I know that in 1 foot, that is 12 inches. Okay? So I went from yards down to feet and down to what I'm looking for, which is inches. And again, we're going to cross out whatever units are diagonal from each other. So yards and yards, feet and feet. So again, I want to know how many inches he ran, and that's what unit I'm left with, the one I did not cross out. So then I'm going to multiply straight across. So 120 times 3 times 12, and that gets me 4,320 inches. Okay. So I know we've been talking about proportions, so how is this like the proportions that we've already used? So we can set this up as a ratio table. So for example, Mrs. Torres is mailing a package that weighs 12.5 pounds. The post office charges by the ounce to mail a package. How much does the package weigh in ounces? So we're going from pounds, and we want to know ounces. And I know that if my words are going to be pounds and ounces, those are the two things I'm comparing. And I know that 1 pound is equal to 16 ounces. And in my problem, I'm given that I already have 12.5 pounds, and I just need to find out what that is in inches. In ounces. I'm sorry, guys. In ounces. So I just set up my ratio table based on the information that I'm given, my words, my original unit, and my new unit, and I have to solve for how many ounces are in 12.5 pounds. So then I have a scale factor. I can multiply 1 times 16 to get to 16. So then I would just do 12.5 times 16 to get to whatever my ounces is. And so if I were to multiply, I would get 200 ounces. Okay. So if I look over here, another set of ratios set up. 12.5 pounds for 1 equals 16 ounces over 1 pound. And again, if I were just to multiply those two together, I'd cross out what is diagonal from each other, and I'm left with ounces. So I would just multiply the two numbers together, which again gets me 200. And I'm going to double check my work. So 12.5 times 16. I have 1 decimal place, move it over 1 decimal place, so I get 200. Right? And those are the notes over measurement conversions on page 55 of your math journal.